Hey everybody, I'm Charlie with Two Dogs Outdoors, and today we are going to be working on my 1991 Toyota Landcruiser FJ80. About a month ago, I put this ARB bull bar on, and I had kind of been waffling on which winch setup I wanted to put on it, and I ended up settling on the Harbor Freight Apex 12,000 pound synthetic winch. I've seen a lot of videos and a lot of posts on people trying to put this Apex 12,000 in an FJ80, but there are some modifications that need to be done, and we're going to go over those today. So I picked up this little 91 FJ80 about a year ago, and I'll just do a quick walk around. I've been doing a lot of stuff to it. It's really a cool little truck. It's an all original. It's got about 175,000 miles on it. I put all new exhaust on it. I put a new fuel tank in it. I did the injectors. I did a full axle rebuild. So it's gotten a whole lot of stuff done onto it. But I got the winch in. And one of the things that you'll notice about the FJ80 is that when you put a Badlands winch in here, you got to invert it. It can't be mounted feet down. It has to be mounted feet forward. And I got it in there, but I had to purchase, let me see if I can get the camera in there. I had to purchase some spacers. There you go. You can see the 1-inch spacers that I got. Those 1-inch spacers I got off Amazon. They're just for any other normal winch, but it allows you to rotate the winch 90 degrees, and it allows it to clear where the bumper kind of has the angle and angles back so that it doesn't hit the sides of the winch. Mounting it inverted, it works pretty good. Gives me plenty of good access to be able to flip the winch clutch. I can still get in there. But the problem with it is that the control box would go back, and it didn't have enough clearance to hit the valance panel. So I would either have to notch this valance panel, or I would have to relocate the control box, which is what we're going to do today. So the cool thing about the Badlands Apex winch is it does come with a winch control box relocation kit, and it comes with this little bracket here that you can use to remount the control box wherever you want. Now, I wanted to keep it on the top of the winch so that it's in basically the same configuration that it would have been from the factory. But in order to do that, I had to make a set of brackets in order to do that. And we're gonna show you how I made them and how I'm gonna install it today. So one of the first things I had to do is figure out exactly how I was going to get this control box to be able to sit up on top of the winch where it was supposed to be and not have any interference problems. Because like I said before, you can't mount it the way it was on a vertical. And I really didn't want it to be vertical on the back side of the winch anyways, because water can get up in there and it's just not really a good orientation for it to be. I'd rather have it, you know, sitting like it's supposed to. So the first thing I had to do was I had to figure out how to get this bracket, which will mount the control box on, to sit in here on top of the winch, mounted to the bumper, where it wouldn't interfere with any of the controls or anything like that, and it wouldn't hit the valance or the grill or anything like that. So after taking about a whole bunch of measurements, I ended up making some brackets out of just some angle iron that I bought from Lowe's. This is the first piece. This piece is going to go to the front of the bumper, and it's going to mount behind here just like that, and it lines up with the holes on the bumper itself. The other thing that we're going to do today is we're going to mount this shutoff switch in the engine bay, and I fashioned a little bracket for that as well, which is also going to not only house the shutoff switch, but it's going to house my voltage sensing relay for my dual batteries, which I'll show you here in a bit as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get these brackets mounted to the relocation bracket, and these are the brackets that are going to hold it to the bumper of the truck. Like I said, these were just angle iron that I got from Lowe's. I cut them with a die grinder. I rounded the corners off really nice, drilled it out really nice, and then I metal treated it and coated them both with POR 15. So they're really, they got a nice coat of paint on them. They're not going to rust out. This piece here I made just from a piece of round electrical conduit that I smashed the ends flat, And again, metal treated it and PR15'd it. This is going to go back down to the core support, and it's going to serve as a stiffener so that the control box can't vibrate. So all of the hardware that I've been collecting for this project, I've done in stainless steel, and I've tried to use the same metric thread pitch and sizes that are standard on the Landcruiser 80. That way, if I'm ever out on a trip and something gets loose and I need to service it, I can do it with the tool kit that I carry for the 80, which is basically set up for all of the fastener sizes and the thread pitches that the 80 was built with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my brackets to the control box relocation bracket with the fasteners that I got. When I drilled these holes out for this bracket, I left myself a little bit of slop for adjustment, just because it's not a perfect thing. It's not perfect, and this is all handmade, one-off stuff. It really didn't take me that long to make it, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough room to be able to adjust the control box forward or backwards and then tighten it up to it so I could get it in its perfect location. But as you can see, I matched the bracket to the contour of the thing, so all the corners are nice and rounded. So if you ever got to stick your hands down in there, you're not going to get your arms scraped up on a sharp edge. It's really important. So here's our bracket assembled, pre-assembled, not tightened up, and it's gonna go in here just like this. Actually, I got that wrong. This goes the other way. It goes this way. I've only done this about 5 times. You'd think I'd have figured out how to do it by now. All stainless, lock washers, wide washers. Okay, once again, this guy goes in here like that. So then you can kind of see that the winch bracket is not touching the winch, and it's not touching the valance panel on the front of the Landcruiser. So there's one other piece that comes with the kit. This is a license plate bracket, and it kind of goes like this up against there, and that allows you to put your front plate on there. I'm probably going to put some sort of a vanity plate up on the front. I haven't decided what yet. So when we put this bracket on, I'm going to go ahead and install the license plate bracket as well. That way I can put a cool tag on the front when I decide to. So again, this bracket is going to sit in here just like that. And the control box is going to sit on top of it. I got these little black socket head bolts. They're going to be what I'm going to use to mount the front bracket to the bumper. I just like them because that's what I use to put the winch on, and they're black. They match the bumper. Hopefully they won't rust out. If they do, I'll end up taking them back out one at a time and POR 15ing them and reinstalling them. But all the brackets for this, all the bolts for this bracket are going to be these black powder coated cap skewers. Lined up. There's a little bit of paint in the hole of that bracket, so I'm gonna have to run it in with the Allen key. It's a little tight in there, but I still have access to get to the bolts. Trick is not dropping them into the grate beyond. Okay, so now you can see that I've got this front mount mounted perfect. It's in there nice. It's not going to go anywhere. And you can see that the control box bracket doesn't hit anywhere. I still have to tighten up those bolts there, but at its furthest back adjustment, it clears the valance panel by about 1/8 of an inch, which is exactly what I want, because that's what I needed it to clear for the front of the bumper as well. But as you can see, it has some up and down movement, which is why I made that center brace that's going to go down to the core support, which is what we're going to install next. So as you can see now, I just have this sitting on here, but now the control box can sit in here, and it doesn't hit the grill, it doesn't hit the valance. I can still get to my clutch. I can get to my wiring. It's not hitting the front of the bumper anywhere. I have clearance all the way around. Again, I just have it sitting in here. And again, it has that up and down movement, which is why I got to put that center support in there. So this is the center support I made. It's going to go right to the core support and to my bracket up there. So we're going to take this little 10mm bolt out. And we're going to replace it with a longer one that I bought. And it's right here with a washer. And we're going to put this right up in here. That doesn't act like it wants to work. Okay, we're gonna leave that a little bit loose for just a second until we can get our other bolt on there. All right, so now we've got our center bar in, and it's nice and tight. And you can see now that this thing is nice and sturdy now. It doesn't move at all. So here I have the cover of the control box off, and I'm going to be working on the electrical connections here. I took the long positive wire that goes directly to the shutoff switch out of the control box just for the purpose of this installation, just because I didn't want to be messing with the thing hanging down. But I'm going to put it back on here in a second. So I've done a lot of electrical projects over the years, and I have acquired a lot of different stuff to do these projects. I keep a lot of heat shrink tube, little tie-offs, various connectors, heat shrink connectors, switches, fuses, lugs for battery cables. The other thing I also invested in was a really good, high quality set of crimpers. These are really important if you're going to be working on battery cable stuff where you got to shorten cables and redo the lugs and stuff like this. You got to have a good tool to do that with, and if you don't, you're just wasting your time. I put ElectriGuard on every connection that I do. It just makes for a really good anti-corrosion coating. The only thing that you could do better is to solder it, but this stuff just really kind of makes a good anti-corrosion connection on your battery cables so that you can put them together correctly. Okay, so in full transparency, when I was installing the winch the first time, I had the control box mounted to it, and I was using my floor jack, and it's super heavy, and I ran over the cable, the positive cable, with the jack wheels, and I frayed this out. So what I've been doing is I've been making a new cable, and as you can see, I've got it heat shrink now. I've got new conduit on it, and I'm getting ready to do a double heat shrink over the positive end that goes right here to this positive cable, because it has to go through that little hole in the control box. So that was my little boo-boo. I messed up the cable. I had to buy a 6-foot section of 2 AWG and core marine cable and some connectors and some heat shrink, but we're back on track, and we're getting ready to put that in. There, that looks really nice. And this heat shrink has an adhesive in it, and when you heat it up, it actually starts to ooze out a little bit, which is going to help glue that heat shrink down to the conduit and to the the terminal connector. All right, so now we've got our cable back on. You see how it's necessary to put that double heat shrink on there, because this does make contact with these other lugs, and you don't want it to vibrate through. So I've got a good double coat of heat shrink here to protect that connection so that it can't arc over to anything else. All right, so while you were gone, I reassembled the control box. It looks really good. Got a nice solid fit there. Everything looks like it's going to be pretty good. I also removed these little extender plates because those were for the battery terminals when it was attached to the winch. If this was installed on the winch, these plates would go down to the winch controls that are on the back of the winch, but we're going to do little shorty extension cables from the winch up to the control box. We're ready to mount the control box. You got these little sleeves that drop down in here, and then you've got your bolts, and this is going to bolt to our bracket that we put up on top of the winch and attached to the bumper. All right, so while you were gone, I took some time to recharge the camera battery, and I got this control box mounted. It's nice and tight. It's ready to go. I'm ready to start my wiring, and I'm ready to start running my power cord. I ran it straight through the grill because it was a straight shot, and I'm trying to figure out a way to snake it through the core support and up to the back of the battery box where it's going to attach over between the battery box and the air cleaner is where I'm going to have my shutoff switch. I did manage to lose one of those little sleeves that goes in between the control box and the mount bracket, and I spent literally a half an hour looking for it. It went into Never Never Land, and it was like 6 feet down the driveway where it bounced when it landed. So that was a pain in the ass. Also, to get to these nuts under here, that was about a number 10 on the son of a bitch scale. It was really hard. I ended up taping the nut to the bottom of my little socket wrench, and that was the only way I could actually get access to it to tighten them up. But it's on there, it's nice and tight, and I'm very happy with it. Again, no interference anywhere. It's nice and clean. So I now have my positive feed routed. I zip tied it to the vertical support, and it runs along the bottom of the core support. And then my ground feed comes off, and it goes over to the core support. They both tie together, and then they run up to the core support. And the negative cable comes in from in front of the battery tray, and it's going to come up to the negative terminal, and the positive feed comes around the back, and it's going to come up to my voltage regulator, which is going to mount to the other bracket that I made. So I originally had my voltage sensing relay mounted to the back of the battery box here, but when I put the start switch in for the winch, it's going to be a little crowded, so I made that little bracket, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to mount them from this point on. They're going to be side by side. They're modular, they're designed to be mounted side by side, and they're going to go sideways against the fender well hill. I made a bracket that's going to fit right up under this fender bolt, and it'll just hang straight down. So this is the little bracket that I made for the switch panels, and this is for the on-off switch for the winch, and then the voltage sensing relay will sit right next to it, and then this bracket will slip underneath the fender mount bracket. You'll see that here in a second. So now I have my positive wire routed where it needs to go. I have the back sides of my switches mounted and wired in and mounted to my bracket. And now this bracket is going to slide right under the fender lip and use the existing fender bolt to mount it down. Give me just a second. That's going to go just like that. And then the fender mount will bolt right back where it was. There. That looks pretty good. All right, so now we have the control box mounted. We've got it wired. We've got everything routed. My switch and my voltage regulator are now in their correct spot. Everything's attached to the battery, routed. We're going to give it a test. We're going to flip the wireless to on, grab our wireless controller, press it for 3 seconds. We are on. This is a test. Oh, we got to turn this on first. It functions. Success. Thanks for watching.